You probably clicked in this video thinking that this is a super clickbaity title and there's no way that she made it to the front page of the Apple website, and obviously that is a given, but I do have a lot to prove that I've had a long history that goes way back with Apple as an employee, hence why I am wearing my one and only Apple shirt that I got when I started working at Apple. So it was definitely a lot of impact that was made on the footprint of my career. So without further ado, let's get into it. Just a bit of background introduction. The first time working at Apple was actually being a business development intern working at Apple corporate in Beijing, and that was in my second year of college. I had already had one internship prior to that. That was in the banking industry, so I think that part of the experience really helped because they were specifically hiring a business development intern to work for the Apple Pay sector. So with some kind of finance and banking industry in the past, I think that was what really stood out on my resume. So basically what I did was something that I think a lot of you will be very familiar with. It's actually to develop the transit card system, or to kind of add that service onto the Apple Pay Apple Wallet. So this was back in 2018 where transit card service was first launched into the Apple Wallet, where we were trying to basically promote the service and get more people to adopt the usage of Apple Wallet. So my job was basically, as a business development intern, was to really build connections and kind of reach out to a lot of the banking issuers here in China to basically get them to be on board and help us to promote our initiative or our service here by basically launching a lot of the marketing campaigns and collaboration initiatives. So with my experience, it was really, really positive. My manager was really experienced, super seasoned, and really get to understand how everything works internally within Apple. Though I think one thing I did take away was that because the standardization within the Apple organization from just across regions were so top down and very vertical, so there didn't really leave a lot of room for regions or regional markets to specifically adopt or create anything beyond the scope of that what was already given. Overall, it was such a great learning experiences. I was able to do cold calls with bank issuers. I went to visit their offices with my manager. I was able to take on a lot of the individual tasks as an intern who was 21 years old. Like, that was just an amazing experience. And moving on to the second part of work experiences with Apple was when I went back to Vancouver, and that was when I had already gone back to school. And as a full-time student, I really just wanted to make quick money, so I was looking at some of the opportunities within Apple retail, and I applied and finally got accepted at one of our local Apple stores as a technical specialist. So basically someone who works at a Genius Bar, take appointments, diagnose issues, and at the end I did get promoted to be a technical expert. So that was when I started getting really I started doing repairs. So if you were to replace your battery, if you were to replace your broken display or screen, a technical expert would be someone that would be in the repair room to complete the repairs within a timely manner. So that was, I did that for a bit over a year. And at the end, I did, because having to come back to China and pursue a master's degree, so I took a pause and basically terminated that position there at Apple Retail. I think that was a position where I really just grew a lot when it comes to problem solving, customer/client services, when it comes to troubleshooting and presenting all the optimal solutions, and just really just when it comes to the human nature side of things, really to develop that empathy for people, because obviously people usually come to us with a broken phone or with a ton of issues. So a lot of interpersonal skills and communication skills were also developed through that experience. And really, I think that was where I really got just to the closest to a lot of the like societal cultural differences or nuances, because obviously that was where you meet just a variety of people. Not like when you're in a professional setting, you meet people with usually similar backgrounds or kind of similar demeanors and manners and tones in a way, but when you work at a retail store, you just encounter everyone. So that was also really fun. So overall, accumulatively, I did have 2 parts of working experiences with Apple, and accumulatively reaching 2 years. I'm definitely right now still an avid user and avid supporter of Apple, even though the new iPhone 15 that came out, I don't know how I felt about that. It was kind of mid. But other than that, I stand behind what Apple is doing. A lot of the corporate culture and organizational culture, which I think is by far, I've also interned and worked or witnessed or heard a lot about different companies, but I think Apple's employee culture is by far the most outstanding, most friendly to their employees. I think it really cares for its employees. I want to share with you just 3 top organizational qualities and some of the organizational values that I really resonated with and what I really took away. The first one, I think it's written actually in, I think it's motto or in like one of the one-pager sheet that we got on the first day, and it's something that was always consistently communicated to us and emphasized to us. At Apple's, at its core, it's its people. So that means Apple as a company really cares for its employees. Always blown away by Apple's support and its care for its people. Ultimately, Apple understands that only happy employees can do a good job at serving their customers and their clients happily, And I think it was really benefited by how they were really invested in their employees' well-being. Gym member reimbursement, a lot of the fitness challenges, and a lot of the wellness practices and trainings that I had, and also a dedicated education program where it compensates for up to a certain amount of your tuition in any certified institution. For example, I know some of my leaders, some of my colleagues were able to actually finish a lot of the certificates or finish a second degree throughout their time of working at Apple and having their tuition paid and compensated partially by Apple. The second thing I really was super impressed about was a ritual at Apple, especially at Apple Retail, where it really values the verbal appreciation among colleagues. So basically, we probably always have a colleague or someone who really supported us in any ways, and sometimes it's usually reflected in, for example, performance reviews and like end of quarter, like highlight sharing, stuff like that. But at Apple, it actually got broken down into a daily frequency where I remember every day when we started at the Apple store in the morning, we will have a quick internal meeting where there was always a practice or a little session where it was called shout out, or I don't remember what it's called, like verbal appreciation. Basically, always voluntarily, you could voice your appreciation to a colleague that has maybe helped you in a certain customer interaction the day before, or maybe you lend your hand in a certain task or activity. So those verbal shout outs, I think, not only strongly boosted team morale and kind of team and strengthening that team relationship, but at the same time, you like look forward to this kind of stuff because it creates that just dynamic where everyone is happy, everyone looks forward to hearing what other people have to share about, and it's always a nice just way to hear someone sharing their appreciation and giving you a compliment or a super courageous kind of word. So that was something I really enjoyed, and it has really taught me to be more verbally expressive with my appreciation and my positive reviews to my colleagues. And thirdly, I really benefited from Apple's mentorship system. I think a lot of the companies do have a mentorship mechanism, but sometimes it almost feels like it just is not executed well enough, or maybe it's just people do it for the sake of doing it, but whether the mentor or the mentee, they aren't really connected that well. So I don't know, sometimes I just don't feel like it's that effective. But at Apple, that support system, that mentor system, has just run so maturely, and I think is so effective, especially at Apple Retail. Like I said, I had to take a lot of appointments handling very difficult customers. So most of the times, when I was a newbie, someone was there someone senior, someone with more experiences dealing with these kind of situations would be assigned to shadow me for my appointment sessions. And obviously they would just kind of observe, and they wouldn't really chime in unless they needed to, but they were there to show that support and after every session, we will have a little quick debrief session to review and to kind of figure out solutions and to improve from that point on. So that was what we call reverse shadow. So someone senior shadowing someone junior. And obviously there was also the shadowing session where when I was a newbie, I would just kind of learn by watching and learn by observing. So that way I was able to be put into the situation and have that really immersive of a learning environment. So yeah, I think those were kind of the three things where I really left a deep impression in me. Some of my insights and my experiences working at Apple. If you have any questions at all, feel free to leave them in the comment section, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!